Let me say this from the jump. Look, shorty, I'm the man. I'm from Harlem, I'm a problem. I don't think you understand. You don't care about my status, this chain in or its carriage. You just care about how I hate it from the back like raspy rabbits. It's okay, don't stop. We can do it how you want. Treat your boss like Dunkin' Donuts. Know what donuts need a dunk. Okay, you cool. This magic trick ain't done. As I slurple on your nurples, girl, this ride has just begun with my starter shade, sound tough and I'm soaking. Good enough to get her, I'm hoping. I know I'm hot, cool off cause I'm smoking.
Hello there, it's your girls Meta Mars, and of course this is a meta moment, and in this specific meta moment I just want to catch up with you guys that you know, yes, I am still alive. Don't get twisted, I am still alive. You know, it's getting hard over here, but I'm still alive. You know, I'm making stuff happen. You know, just been busy, you know, catching up with things, like real people things, like logical things, not YouTube things. But that is not the, that's not the focus of this moment at this particular time. In fact, I want to talk about not what I posted before online. That can wait, because you know what? I just realized, as much as I want to drag this dude, that could wait, because you know life is clearly dragging him and shit, dragging everybody at this point, nigga. I want to talk about this recent documentary that I just was privy to online. It is Lady Renee's personal recollection of her time with her recently divorced spouse and their time together, and all the tragic things that she had to experience, where she felt that, you know what, let me bring this to light. So if there was any misconstrued information that was relayed, this is her clearing it up. And don't get me wrong, at first I was like, the title was just like, wait a minute, this looked like something that could just be a very, very sad story. But I just, it was still enticing nonetheless. So I was like, you know what? I don't really know this woman from a hole in the wall. In fact, I believe I was watching another YouTuber on here to talk about that. That's something that a lot of us need to just like get on the ball, look into that, because it's literally a cautionary tale. Like, I mean, we all in our own lightness or darkness have cautionary tales, but this specific one, she specifically recommended because it was like, jinkies. It was crazy, and I definitely can tell you from what I detail out of it. I initially tried to record myself watching it, but because one, it was 2 hours long and I don't think I have the space on my laptop for it, and two, it was so, I wouldn't even really, I'm not going to use the word triggering, because I would have to be very honest. She's just telling her part of it, so there's always another part. I'm not saying what she said was wrong, but it was more or less mind-blowing, to where like I couldn't help but be that chick that be in the movie theaters and she's literally talking through the movie. That would have been me. So I'd have been stopping, and it'd have been more than 2 hours. Like, I'd be like, look, let me tell you something about this situation. Let me tell you about this situation. But first, like, to the point where, as y'all can see in my my thumbnail, I had on a totally different outfit. Like, I started sweating. That's how intense the interview was. I was sweating, like, because so many different kind of emotions that I went through just viewing and hearing her words and speak about what she transpired over her last 14, 15 years of marriage with this guy. And quite frankly, I am just like, oh my God. Like, and to think that it's, I'm from in New York City, and it's literally in upstate New York, Rochester, that this all transpired, up and down the freaking East Coast. So it's like, it hits very close to home, because I'm close to where a lot of stuff transpired. So it just makes me like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. So if I may say, I just decided, take out some talking points that I wanted to just get to, so I won't be sitting here rambling, because I have literally just finished watching it, and the emotions that I just had to like reel down from, it's, there's no words to describe it. I'm just going to be really honest with you. Like, there's no words to describe. I wish her nothing but well. Like, I don't think no woman should ever have to experience that, let alone a child. Like, because let me get to this. Let me get to the meat of the shit. So, she started out by talking about how she met her then husband at the age of 14. And yes, 14. He was a teacher at her school. And for one thing that I believe that was just really, in my personal opinion, very enraging, is that how she mentioned that she believed in her like own you know, her own opinion. It was facilitated by a lot of people within the community to make this okay. Mainly because at the end of the day, he was using her, a 14-year-old child, as a cover-up for his same-sex molestations that he was doing also. So she thought she was getting, she's a child, she's easily, manipulated, misinformed, clearly, like, and it wasn't like just him doing this, like it was his mother, like it was other teachers, like it just got really, really crazy, like off the bat. Immediately, I'm just like, whoa, pause that. Did she just say what I just said? Like, did she just say what? Like, yes, it was. I instantly thought in my mind, like, okay, this most likely transpired, like she said, 14 years ago, right, 15 years ago, and all I could think was like, okay, what the are y'all doing upstate? Like, I'm in the city, but I instantly, when she said that, like, a teacher, like, vocalized, oh yeah, somebody want to marry you. And he points at another teacher, and all I can think in my mind is like, what kind of teacher facilitates this engagement with the children and other teachers? Like, that was just like, wait a minute, hold a freaking phone. Like, I was just like instantly like, look, I took a water break then. Like, I said, I started sweating. I said, wait a minute, how did this happen? Like, and then on top of the fact, keep going a little forward into the story. Years later, when she after being groomed not only by this man, she was also being groomed by his family as well, like his mother. She was very vocal about her engaging with him, and then to come to find out, like it was all just a cover-up for the allegations of him, molesting boys also within these schools that he worked in. So he just thought, that was by itself was like, wait a minute, what mother in they right mind, tells a 14-year-old daughter that her 23-year-old son is the best option for her? Like I started to, like, it had the coils in my brain, like the predatory ass community, like, just. And excuse me if it looks like I'm laughing or I'm making jest of this. I'm really not. I'm just like in my brain trying to get it together. Like, and his mother was with this too. Like, what the is this? Like, what is this? What are we looking at here? And I'm just could not believe, like, this went down. Like, and to the point where, like, okay, even 4 years later, she, also the same exact mother encourages when she turned 18, encourages this girl to marry her son. Like, because he, of course, as the storyline plays on and keeps going, this mother also encourages her to marry her son. Like, this is like, okay, mom, all right. And then it's she continues on saying, how they don't went and they don't started, like, took over churches together. They started getting community support, which I'm like, no one thinks it's a little weird that this grown man, very, very, very grown man, decided that this 18-year-old girl, at the time frame when they started to start community and stuff like that, and he before he married her, they were going to church together and starting a community. Like, nobody in this community thought this was awkward that this grown man was bringing an underage child to service, like, as a spouse. Like, on top of the fact that it's like, oh, it then later, came out that it was like he was also being accused of having sexual engagements with underage boys at the time frame. So nobody thinks that's like red flag number 1, red flag number 2, red flag number 3. Like, I'm just like, there's flags everywhere. Even though, like she said, she admitted it herself. She's like, yo, like, this is kind of weird. But, I was young. I was impressionable. I wanted acceptance. We were both in a situation, which I'll get to later, that I honestly believe also exacerbate the situation as well, and made her very susceptible to this kind of predatory behavior, which was, not really having support from her family, and then him being the support, and his family being the support without her having any from her family, because she had also mentioned that, which made it very easy for her to transition into being very, becoming to his mother, and then the church community that they had was because, he made it very clear, like, I'm here for you, I'm there for you. And it's like, I guess that love bombing thing, they do when, initially get with someone, and you're like, okay, I don't really know. And you just want acceptance. You just want somebody there. And it baffled the crap out of me. Like, oh my God. And then, like I said, like I'm going to continue. Which another thing that I thought was really weird as well. Not saying it was weird because this is her story and she's relaying it. I'm just like, God damn, girlfriend. Like, the flags was, oh God, it's freaking gnats in my face. I don't know if you'll see that. There. It was that how he then, in those years, begin to financially bleed and take advantage of her by, having her experience homelessness, had her pretty much living a pseudo existence as if, they're doing well, they're doing fabulous, they're taking money from the people in their congregation to finance their life, and then having all these extravagant situations where he would pretty much was living, having not being functionable in his own financial life, but he's being in a position of power within their community. Like that I thought was pretty, I thought that was so fucking flabbergasting, that she literally said how she was dripped in all this glamour for her to then go home and had to pack her stuff up because they were getting evicted. So it was like, you just went, took this beautiful photo shoot and looked in all gracious and all amazing, to then have to go home and be evicted, because he was just in financial shambles, and he's pretty much not only, taking advantage of her physically, mentally, and emotionally, but he then also was doing it financially. So for the fact that she was also financially carrying him as well through all of this abuse and all of this craziness, I thought that was crazy. On top of the fact that even within those situations of her, gaining churches with him and moving around, getting mansions and houses and all types of getting evicted and all type of financial situations, that he was also, having affairs with men in the churches that they were building together, because unfortunately, not only was he a pedophile, the man was infidelis, philanthropist, the man, he dabbled in infidelity, he definitely, could not keep it in his pants, on top of being a closeted homosexual. So that was also okay, on top. And then from her account and things that she was saying was that very early on in their marriage, how she went to the gynecologist and he was just so concerned, he was just oh, even though I told you and our whole congregation that, when we got together, I was a virgin, but things come out years later. This laugh is not at her situation, and this is at the gaffle that comes out of these people that are so manipulative. That's it makes you hard to want to trust, because the fact that he can literally say that, most likely, in my personal opinion, it's just my personal opinion, not only was he cheating on her, he was not even doing his due diligence to put on a condom. So he's pretty much having sex with these people and engaging with them without protection. Because the fact that her just having a little issue and probably got a yeast infection or whatever, she didn't really specify what the issue was, why she went to the gynecologist. But the fact that he would try to do damage control, because he already probably knew ain't no babies coming out of the situation, but I still wasn't even wrapping it up. And that was just girlfriend, if I was a fly on the wall, I would have slapped him for you. But that was not, and that was before they even had kids, because she was also explaining how she had issues conceiving early on as well, because she had a couple, no, I ain't gonna say a couple, she has about 6 miscarriages, unfortunately, to the fact that she said she suffers from polycystic ovary syndrome, as well as endometriosis. So she's just got like two of the worst conditions for women who want to have children. And of course, he was always very vocal to her that he wanted to have kids. So it was just like, then why are you messing with dudes? Like, I mean, not saying that that's not how that can happen. I mean, they can always adopt, but it was like, why? It was just so many things that was just like, huh? Like, and then of course, a lot of, things that was just, she was saying how he would pretty much be colorist on top of, having misogynistic tendencies around certain male people within the church, where he just started doing like, and then even certain things that she had mentioned as well, that years later on, like about around the end of their marriage, where she recognized that, like, okay, I can't, even though, because, and this is her word, she says, you pray, you stay, because that's the relationship of their community, which is, I'm assuming, a very overly orthodox, conservative, community, with, especially considering the fact that they are being called pastors and bishops and all this stuff. That's their mythology, I guess. I mean, that's what they follow. They're like, you know what, even though he's cheating on you, he's lying about his financial situation, he's exposing you to diseases, he's and then, if I did not mention, he was also being abusive too, like physically on top of that. Like, sometimes whenever like it got out of control, he felt like he was losing control of her, because sometimes she would have sermons, and she was called, I guess, the first lady or something like that, which I guess in certain churches that's what they call the women of the pastor, the wife of the pastor, they call first lady. And then like he would, I guess in certain sermons, he would say some things that was just off for a pastor to even say. And she had the audio, and I listened to the audio, of course, because she played it as well. And all I could think in my mind, like, he was saying this in church, like he was talking about, and then this is in his word, niggas on the block. Like, he's a nigga in the pulpit. Like, what? They was letting that rock. Like, and it's crazy, because even though, like she mentioned, she said we after a while, because he would say some off-brand stuff, that they had to even stop recording, because he was already aware that certain pastors would say certain things that was, back then, I'm assuming right now, was again like very homophobic, that it would sometimes be career ending or whatever the case. But he said, which was also daunting, that she mentioned, was he as well would say sometimes very homophobic things as well, which was weird for her, because she says we would go to counseling, and I would have to tell this counselor, because I wanted to save my marriage, that he was cheating on me with his godson that goes to our church, and I had to look at this kid every day or every Sunday or whenever, I don't know, whenever they would have their service or whatever. And I would have to sit there and smile and not give off that I knew anything about this, because if I made even the slightest, impression that something was wrong, he was just on me. Like, what are you doing? Like, I could sense it in you. And it was like, but this dude, he's interrogating her, and he's cheating with a 15-year-old boy, and that's supposed to be his godson. Like, I was just blown. Like, can you be serious? Like, how are you mad at her for being mad at you for something like you shouldn't be doing at all, sir? Like, you're like, at all, like, it was crazy. Which also made it even more weird, because like the details just kept getting like bananas. Like, the manipulation of this man was out the window, like, to say the least. Like, it was crazy. She was talking about how they probably been evicted like 3 or 4 times because he was in financial shambles, but he was taking money from the congregation, but money would always go missing. They were going out to eat every Sunday. It got weird, but it was like they're spending money that she had for college and living off of that, while he's taking the money from the church and spending it on his, I don't like this, I guess you could call them his boyfriends, because like they're not the wife, right? So, but they're there, and she had to sit there and act like it was nothing. So spending it on his boyfriends, to where like he wasn't paying the mortgage, or he wasn't paying the rent, and he wasn't paying the car note. So like lights were getting cut off. There was no food in the house, but he's on vacation with the congregation, like, and she's sitting there trying to like feed her kids pancakes for 4 days. Like, while looking for change in the couch to buy oodles and noodles from Aldi's, which is down the block, to get in the car to realize like she barely has any gas. So like she's praying to get to the oldies and get back to feed her kids ramen noodles. Like the story was just of her hardship. I feel so much empathy for her, but of course, you know, like she in her own words specifies, she says, when you're attached to people who do bad things and they conduct themselves in horrible ways, sometimes you siphon off a lot of their karma, even though you're not doing anything. Because your affiliation with these type of people, they transfer that energy. So even though she in her mind was thinking, oh my God, this is my husband, I felt like I'm doing the word of God, because she was technically a cover for a pedophile. Like she felt in her own personal words that she was reaping what she has sowed, because she, in her own way, in her own opinion, I guess she negated his karma, because he was definitely at that time frame, come to find out years later, that when he opted to marry her at that time frame, where that's why the pressure from the mother and the pressure from the community was for her to marry him, was because about 2 or 3 of those schools at the time frame was about to push forward with the allegation of him having sexual misconduct with the boys in her school. So he was using her as a cover, because it was more acceptable, even though that was still like weird, that was more acceptable because she was still underage. She was like 14. Like it was more acceptable for him to be in a relationship or having sexual misconduct with a girl than it was for him to be with a boy. So it just became like a whirlwind of what the hell did this woman get herself into, because the story just is crazy, and of course, like, if only it did not get any crazy, it got crazier. Like, of course it did, right? And then she starts to talk about how he would pretty much at points just like he would start to complain about like certain things within the the community, or the congregation, excuse me, their religious community, that how they would never push him enough on their platforms or give him enough I guess attention on platforms like their Facebook, or when, like, for one thing that she had mentioned was like in their community, a member's son had died, and he wanted so bad to go to the funeral and give a speech, and the mother was like, no, like, what the and he said he completely like made her cut off the mother, like, while she's grieving about her dead son, and she obviously needs God, because he couldn't go to the funeral and make a fucking speech. Like, don't get me wrong, I've seen the craziest, I've seen a situation similar to that, so it was like, you see my face, I was like, yo, these people of religion sometimes be bananas. And like, just, that's all I gotta say on that. Like, to where he was even like doing weird things, like he would wear butt pads to service, like those little butt, those I don't know what they call them. They're like fake butts, I guess. With like, females typically put them on if you're a little flat in the back and you try to have a little off or whatever, and you can't afford surgery, you're not trying to do nothing critical or major. Like, he will be wearing that to church. That one is funny. That one, I will freaking say, is hilarious, because I'm like, what in his right? And of course, in her mind, she said she felt like he was just trying to garner more attention, to where he was wearing makeup, he's wearing a butt pad, and he was even photoshopping their photos that he would post on Facebook. Like, dude. Yeah. And then you have the audacity to add some more sin on top of your sin, like, because then you're gonna be vain, like, for real, like, for real, like, No.
That's the name of the thing.
No, it's not. It's called the thing, the fake butt to make your butt look bigger.
I know, I just searched it up.
Anyway, I'm just trying to figure out what it is. I'm pretty whatever. But on top of him being a pedophile, money launderer, he was also pedophile, money launderer. He was vain. Like, God, this man was racking up all the sins, but living underneath the guise of the Lord. Like, it was just bananas. Like, and then, of course, it keeps getting worse. Like, and I'm just like, So of course, they have children together after these 6, unfortunate miscarriages that she had. And sad to say, but like he was totally not there parentally for his daughter. But when his son actually, was born, like he inevitably had a son, he would initially make sure his son was never around. Like he would just like try to always make sure the son had a babysitter, was never in the house. Like he would just do weird things. Like the son could not be in the house at certain times of the night, which was like, checking off red flags out this mother. And it was just like, of course, she was going to therapy. So then she's like, she tells the therapist, like, which, don't get me wrong, I'm all for therapy relationships. I'm all for working it out with your marriage. But certain things be crazy. That's like, I don't think you needed a therapist to realize something was not going to work out. Like, and this is one of them things, okay? Because, of course, her finding out he's having an affair with his 50-year-old godson. He's also, what the heck this man? He also started, what the heck? I'm going to go to my notes real fast. He also started to like lie about his health issues to like garner more like support, because there was a time where I guess it was like Thanksgiving or something, like it was a holiday season, and all her family from Rochester was coming down to Atlanta, where they had started their second congregation. I'm saying this man was like taking these people to the bank. Like he was just a shitty fucking guy, right? And then he just the family's coming down from Rochester, like I mentioned before. But as soon as they arrive, they get like, and it's her family, not his family. Because I think his family was, I don't really know where his family actually. No, he never really, I don't think she mentioned where his family was, but I know they're all from that same community, but that's not here or there. Her family was coming down. So they arrived with their bags and everything, ready to settle in and and mind you, like she said, we had a mansion, they had room, they had space, like that's why they were hosting it down at her house. She says, but strangely enough, maybe like 2 days into, I guess, this family gathering, the marshals show up to like padlock the mansion, because of course, even though she's paying all the bills and everything, she's trying to keep up with it. She was, I guess, sometimes he was supposed to maintain the housing property, so like, and for them to be able to stay, they had to give up like $2,000 or something like that, some amount of money. And if I'm not mistaken, he asked his mother. So this is where the kick could get, because not only did your in-laws come all the way from God knows where to stay with you, and you're getting evicted when this happens. So it's like everybody's looking at you like I feel the secondhand embarrassment. Like he then has to ask his family for money. And the thing is, I don't know if I mentioned, like he has said, certain family members that I think specifically like his mother or his sisters or cousins, I don't really know, they don't mess with him. But I guess he probably still had it in good with his mom, so he was like, okay, I need like this $2,000 to like keep my apartment, or it was a mansion, can you keep them a mansion or whatever? Can I get like $2,000? But the thing is, the mother don't mess with him like that, and obviously because the guy's like probably like a chronic liar or something. So he tells his bananas. He tells his mother that he has cancer, and like proceeds to like sell this story. Like he sold this story to a point where he's telling people, because of course like she, as his wife, does all the bookings of appointments, all the errands, stuff like that. So then like, so she would know if it's true or not, or be able to confirm it. So he's like telling people randomly to get money out of them. I'm assuming his mother was probably like the final straw person who he's told the story to get money, and I guess that's when she found out. And he told he tells her he has cancer, and that's why he needs $2,000 and whatever. So of course the mother, like, as a mother, like, your child's about to be homeless and he's telling you they have cancer, like, I'm sure she was just doing what any mother would do, even if you're on out with your kid. Like, you just be like, Lord, you can't come here, so take this $2,000, like, just go, right? And then as it continued, because come to find out, because inevitably what happened is he had to then come out and tell her that he's been telling people he has cancer. So he and she's like, no, you don't. Like, That part I laughed my ass off too, because it was like, she said, I know you don't have cancer. And then she, of course, did her own research, come to find out, talked to the doctors and everything. It's like, he's never even been to a doctor. So, like, even one day, he's like, in the bed with YouTube playing in the background, with like, or like some audio playing in the background of hospital noise, and he's on the phone with somebody, like, telling them, like, okay, my wife just came in. Like, he's literally pretending he's sick in the hospital. Like, the finesse was real. And I'm just like listening to the story, and I'm looking at her face, and I can tell, which, like she said, when you've been in trauma for so many years, like, you're pretty much cut off from your emotional ties. Certain things that we would normally, like I said, I'm laughing because I'm like, oh shucks, like, you really let this man finesse not just you, but everybody that got engaged with. So it was like, it was crazy. Like, it was so crazy. Like, and then to the point where, like, he's lying to people, like, he got cancer. Like, sir, like, that's really a life-threatening, illness where, many people don't make it who actually have this situation. Like, why are you lying about that? And for money, like. But that was neither here nor there, because, obviously he got the money, they have to stay and whatever. But she's just like, at that point, she's already contemplating in her mind, like, I gotta go. I have to leave. Like, he's literally telling people, but they are, she said it came out later after she done divorced him, that he was telling people to not tell her, because of course she was the only person that could, validate whether or not this was true, that, oh yeah, I got cancer, don't tell my wife. Like, so you just gonna be wake up one day like emaciated or whatever situation, how you look, and she's just gonna have to figure it out. Like, nope. I was just like, oh my god, this guy is so terrible. Like, he is terrible. Like, terrible. Like, he is freaking terrible. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, and of course, she had to live it. So I'm just like, oh my god, sis. Like, but like I said, it gets worse. Like, it gets worse. Because of course, I mentioned before, he would systematically make sure that his son was not in the house some days overnight when he had to be there, or he had to be somewhere. I forget what the stipulation was. Like, he actually made stipulations to, like, not have his son around as when he would be meeting with his boyfriends. I was gonna call him his boyfriend because that's exactly what they was. Like, let's just be honest. Like, and I guess he didn't, like, she said one day that her son was sick. He was just getting over the he was probably had like a fever or something, and she had gave him a popsicle stick, like, to make him feel better or whatever. And he just started behaving like very awkwardly, like, oh my god, don't suck that like that, like. And then she said something like on the back of her head, like on her neck, just flared up. Like, the way he said it just made her, like, it triggered her mom gene. Like, us as mothers, those, and women who do have children, like, there's certain things that happens because we done giving birth. It's like, from my understanding, it's like from our biological caveman genes way back then that we inherited, and we move forward with it, that we still have it. Like, we're in, like, we know when our children are in danger. So it's like, we know when we're in danger. Like, I guess we call it woman intuition, right? And I guess that's what she felt like. She felt like, oh my god, like, my son is in danger, like, but not from someone else. She at first internalized that she was bugging, primarily because at the end of the day, she's like, okay, no, this is his father. Like, he says, and now it's coming. We're gonna tell you that, what, 3 crazy sins. Like, all right, he's a liar. He's money launderer. He's a cheater. He's a pedophile. And now she's getting this, like, weird feeling like he might actually be incestuous. So it's like, because of, like, and she said she even talked to the family therapist, which was like, okay, the family therapist, what was you doing? Like, what was you doing at the, like, who was you helping? And she's like, yo, she's still to the family therapist, right? And, oh, no, let me back that up. Actually, this is the second family therapist they've been to, because initially when they start to go through therapy, he has stipulations on which kind of therapist to go to. They could be black, they couldn't be homosexual, and it was something else, the third one. I'm misplacing what it was, but it was something that was just all like awkward. That if you want help, oh no, they couldn't be church affiliated. Like, they could not be within affiliation of their church, or anyone know them from their church. And it was like, red flag, red flag, red flag. But you know what? It is what it was, right? And of course, so this was like the first therapist, I guess. Even though they checked off all the markers of stipulation, they were on their P's and Q's, and he's like, oh no, we can't go back to that therapist. He said, and she's like asking like why, like he said, oh no, because this therapist, they don't understand, they don't understand. Like he just kept emphasizing how this therapist don't understand, which I'm assuming what occurred was that this therapist, while do his due diligence, which is if anybody goes to therapy, like if you a sense that someone or themselves or their patient is in immediate danger, they have no choice but to call the authorities. So I'm pretty sure that's what happened, and that's why he's like, nah, we can't go back there. Like, But the second one, I'm guessing they were getting paid enough, and whoever it was, they was keeping their motherfucking mouth shut, like, because this is what this therapist says. Oh, give him another lollipop, give him another popsicle stick, and see what he does. Like, excuse me, like why you just ain't outright tell this girl? And this is why I don't have no issues with this lady Renee, but I'm definitely thinking about this therapist. Like, so I'm pretty sure you knew something was wrong with this goddamn man, but you want to keep me in your check, and you're like, you know what? Maybe if I put it in a situation where she could discover for herself, I could still keep getting paid. And I'm not technically snitching, right? Like, I'm not snitching, right? Right? That's how it would go. If right. I didn't really directly say that. I just put the situation out there so then it reveals itself. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what this therapist was doing, because of course she says something told me to do it the right next day after she sees this therapist. And of course, when he sees his son do this, he then gets like not necessarily enraged, but she could tell like he was practically. She says if out of all the years they've been together, she says this is probably the first time she's ever seen him so aroused. Like you could tell he was aroused, like to where he was uncomfortable. Like he had to stand up in the chair. Like I guess he probably tried to fix his boner or something. Like she was just like, I knew then and there, like something's wrong. Something's really, really off. Something's really, really wrong. So she said, I knew then and there, like I never thought that he would target our children. But then again, I've only had a daughter. And I'm like, okay, that's weird, but you know what? That was just her opinion. And she said, and not to be funny, she says during their engagement with the daughter, he's not really there. Like he's like most teenagers with a cell phone. When he's like, look back at that phone, like he's not really there, attentive enough for her to be concerned about her daughter. He said, but then again, now she has a son. He says, and he said something now is off. Now he's paying attention. Now he got a lot to say, like to where he was like, oh yeah, he's too light skinned, like. And she's like, what does that have to do with anything? Like she mentioned her mother is of a certain hue, which is the hue of her son. And he said, like he was just pointing out certain things about his son that was just like very problematic. That's like, you know what? Most mothers would have just been like, you know what? You're right. He is light skinned and left. No. Nah, don't get me wrong. Like she said, she was in the process, but she was still, putting her ducks in a row and whatever. But this was the this was the kicker. This what made it happen. She walks up on the bathroom, I guess, randomly. I don't even know how this happened because I can still live in the mansion, and she's like I guess her son was a certain height to her husband at the time frame, and it looked like. And she see her son looking up, and the height that her son is, it's like her son is right at, the angle that it was. It's, excuse me, I'm sweating now because I was like, what? He said the angle that her son was at, it looked like he was he was looking at his father's thing, because he's literally at that height, and then how close he was. He said the way the situation was set up when she walks to the bathroom, she's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh no, I'm just showing him something. And I'm thinking about him like, I'm just showing how to do, this is her word, that's what he said. Oh, I'm just showing this how to do things. Do what things? Like, that his face got to be damn near, in your pelvis. Like, it was weird, like, for lack of a better word. And I don't even want to continue the story because, girlfriend, all I could think in my mind was like, it took for that. And like and this is just her words. And I, even though I'm like, okay, like because she definitely continued on with the story, and she was like, you know, you pray, you stay. She said, but then and she said, like she said, this is her words, right? She says, I don't condone violence or hurt toward anybody's children. Nobody's children deserve that, not even my children. And all I could think in my mind, and I said, through this whole story, that was the only time I was like, this be here. This be here. Because one thing, and I say this primarily because I felt like it was kind of hypocritical. I was like, you knew dang well this man was having engagement with underage children. But like she mentioned, she felt like if she would have called the cops, no one would have believed her, and it would be just her word against his and the kid. You know, you already had proof. And then there was a couple other stories that came out where he would tell stories to people about how he was being taken advantage of by children, which was like, what? Like, and she had like 6-7 names of like people that come to find out when she did the math that these are people that she was in school with when this started to occur. So this is why she started, I guess in her mind, she started putting the 1 + 1 even a 2. And it was like, you're saying now that because he's targeting your son, that now this is the no-go? Like, how many people at the time frame, you had no control of that. And of course, like she said, she was groomed. Like, she did not, know that this was the lead up to the situation with her husband, where she now is afraid for her son because it's just not working. Like she said, he's doing things, saying things, and situations coming up where she's like, she said, I'm not even a violent person, but they're like, she said, even when we would have physical altercations, like when he would start crying, I guess, because even though he's a predator, he definitely, from her words, he does a lot of crying after he got his butt beat up and a couple stuff. Like, and that she would like ease up, like, because like she's not, like, she still considers herself a woman of God and everything. But I just thought that was the only thing I felt was a little hypocritical, because it was like, it was okay when it was somebody else's son, it was okay when it was you, and now it's not okay when it's your son. Like, but you made sure to say, it's not okay for everybody else when it happens to everybody else, which is totally okay. Like, I'll take that, but I was just a little bit, that part didn't sit with me too, because it was like, the first red flag for me, and that's just for me, we all want love, we all want acceptance, we all want to feel like we're cared for, but I don't know. It was just so many, like she said, I was young, I was really impressionable, and I hope that me telling my story would allow other girls to not ever have to experience, she said, because I ended up marrying this man. I had children by this man. And when it ended up coming all out and everything, he's like now using the exact same church that he she helped him build up to attack her online. So like they're literally being overtly aggressive. They're like, you could tell it became insidious. The same people that will respect her when she walked in the building is now online trying to bash her and everything. Like, it became a free-for-all because she's no longer on his side, and then now the allegations are coming out, and now people are correlating what she's saying, that he's took advantage of them, that he's did inappropriate things, and now she's the whistleblower because her divorcing him and leaving sparked this situation. She was no longer his cover, and I felt like, goddamn. I don't think from this entire storyline that I've heard, I was just completely grossed out the vast majority of the time. Like I said, I was wearing a sweater. I was ready to be up in here looking cute. I was ready. I'm still sweating, and I don't even think it's from this light. I changed this light pattern so many times. I turned the light off to like, and I was still sweating, and I had to take my sweater off because I was just like, you can't blame a child. That's one thing, and she did start out the story as a child. But my main concern about the story is how, and it's just me. This is my personal opinion. Adding on a little facto from her correlation. I don't really, like she said. She said she could correlate this in the court of law. She got her receipts, so everything she says is most likely is fact. But like I said, my main concern is that it wasn't just him; it was an entire church community that premeditated this. Like, they all were in on this, making sure that she became his cover for child molestation and abuse and money laundering. Like, and it was that part right there that was like, so you telling me? And then even his family members, like his mom, like, even though I guess I don't really want to say that's what mothers do, but like most mothers would took their child to therapy, like, especially if they got a thing for little boys. Like, I mean, it's different being gay, and that's what she was more or less, her message was. Like, she has no issue with the homosexual community. She says her issue primarily was that they weren't adults. They were freaking children. Like, she said it's different when it's someone who knows, what's going on and understands the mentality of adult engagement. She said they were all children, like, and they were all groomed, including her, through his community, his church community, and his church family. And I definitely believe, like, that is a cautionary tale that a lot of people need to reconsider, when it comes to the people that you follow, and the whole absolution theory when it comes to believing in the Lord and your church community. Because as much as we love to be like, okay, our pastor, our bishops, our preachers, our all that, higher ups in our community, religious communities, organized religious communities, they are definitely in a position to take advantage, and I think that's primarily why it's like, as much as I would love to say, this is a one-off. This happens so many times because, like she also mentioned as well, and also I believe too, like, no one tells their story. No one lets anyone know that this is going on, and it goes under the rug. It gets swept under the rug, and nobody even knows it happened. And the people are literally let loose to do this chronically over and over again. And I appreciate her being honest. She's telling her story. She's telling, like, her, I guess, testimony in a sense to, I would say clear her name, but then again, it's like, I think the only thing, in my personal opinion, that she did wrong was not leave earlier. Excuse me. It was not leave earlier because her being the cover up and then recognizing she was a cover up allowed him to be able to take advantage longer and to be able to get away with this further. But that's just, the things, the mistakes we make in life, and we're all growing and learning, and just like, we're evolutionary creatures. Like, our journey does not just start and end, once we become adults or once we hit milestones. Like, we're chronically evolving. Like, that's just a part of our nature. And of course there's mistakes that's going to occur, and I appreciate her telling her side of it and not being afraid no longer, because her fear of not only him but her fear of God. Like, think, like, and let me know what you think about this story in the goddamn comment section, and if y'all want to, it's on YouTube. Just look up Lady Renee's, and she'll talk about her very, very interesting details from her mouth, about her experience with her church and her then husband, and you see what you get out of it. Because me personally, what I got from it was, look, sometimes even though you're attached, even though you want to see the good of people, you want it to work out, sometimes the best thing you could do to protect yourself is not set yourself on fire too. Like, and that's literally, meta moment. And let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And of course, in the next one, I will be talking my crap about the what I advertise. Yes, it's coming. I might even do it right now. I got nothing to do, and tune into that one. Goodbye.